I will be seeking arrests for individuals involved. I will be pressing charges.
A Dalton home that she leased to Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent.
From risking eviction to conducting township meetings that feel like they belong on a reality TV show, the story of Dalton's super mayor Tiffany Henyard seems to be getting worse. Both trustees and residents are utterly frustrated with Henyard leadership. Let's examine the most recent drama surrounding Henyard, where the only constants over her tenure seem to be upheaval and controversy.
South suburban politician Tiffany Henyard appears to have lost control of both governments.
Imagine that you are attending a township meeting, anticipating the typical bureaucratic back and forth, perhaps some conversations about local issues, etc., but instead you enter what can only be described as that's correct, supervisor, a live-action dumpster fire. The outcome was nothing short of a train accident when Tiffany Henyard, who is already in legal hot water over unpaid rent, tried to tighten her hold on the township.
We knew it was going to be a little messy, but it's just something we felt important that had to be done, that should be done. So, but like I said, you have just some kind of...
The meeting begins with emotions already high since Henyard, who has been accused of squandering taxpayer cash and using her position for personal advantage, isn't exactly in the best place with her fellow trustees, which betrays trust. When Kiana Caro wants to join the meeting via phone, it seems like a fairly normal request, but Henyard rejects it in typical power-playing fashion, dismissing Carol's attempt to call in and asking if you have. You need to have attended the board meeting to conduct business, as your absence sets the tone for the entire gathering. Henyard isn't here to be kind or cooperate. Instead, she's here to establish her power, and she shuts things down when she doesn't get her way, just like she did with Carol. This is classic Henyard. She is petty, domineering, and contemptuous of anyone who challenges her.
You're making a late appearance at the Dalton Village Board meeting this evening. That meeting was being held at the Park District building since Village Hall cannot legally accommodate the crowds at a time.
However, it's crucial to remember that this meeting was about more than just Henyard showing off her power over the trustees. It also included important topics like approving the minutes from the previous meeting and talking about a planned tax rebate for locals. Returns, by the way, ought to have been very important. It was intended to be a tax cut for Dalton residents worth more than $2 million. It's surprising that local officials don't put aside their differences and work together for the community. With Henyard as the leader, despite how important the tax refund is, the meeting rapidly gets out of hand. Trustee. When Chris Gonzalez exits, there is no quorum, no vote, and no tax return because he has already had enough of Henyard's antics. Naturally, Henyard attempts to blame everyone else, saying that Gonzalez and the other trustees aren't interested in carrying out the people's tasks. However, let's face it, who can do anything when Henyard is in charge of everything as if it were her own personal property?
Pay everybody. Is it a reason why you guys are not paying whatever that vendor is?
What was it for?
It was for shirts. That's what it's for.
Additionally, keep in mind that Henyard is dealing with her own personal turmoil during the entire discussion. Indeed, the super mayor faces eviction from her residence after allegedly not paying rent for several months. Her landlord, Janetta Hull, who used to think of Henyard as a friend, has had enough. According to Hull, Henyard and her boyfriend Como Woods, who earns a decent living working for the township, have not paid rent since August. In addition, they allegedly changed the locks on H property to prevent her from leaving. Can you imagine renting your property to the mayor and then not making payments? Keep you out of your own home and charge you rent. Hull claims that she now owes more than $5,000 in late rent and is pursuing legal action to have Henyard and Woods evicted. To be honest, who could blame her? Henyard and Woods are apparently earning over $300,000 in combined taxpayer-funded salaries, but they are unable to scrape together the rental. As a mayor, you would expect that they would promote great citizen norms. But with these people, they just feel like they can do whatever they want. Hull's displeasure is evident when she says that.
Finding of an investigation of village finances and the spending habits of believers.
In addition to being busy acting like a dictator at township meetings, Henyard faces the very real threat of being evicted from her house. The local trustees and citizens are not the only ones who are fed up with Henyard. The federal government is also looking into her spending patterns. Lori Lightfoot, the last mayor of Chicago, was enlisted to look into Dalton's finances, and the initial results are astounding. In 2022, Dalton's general fund balance was above $5 million, but by May 2024, that amount had fallen to a deficit of $360 million. How could something like that have occurred? It was discovered by Lightfoot that Henyard had been utilizing to make a variety of transactions. Village uses its credit card, the Amazon Gold. There was also a day in January 2023 when Henyard dropped $43,000 on Amazon, along with Walgreens, Wayfair, and more. Henyard has not yet provided an explanation for the $43,000. However, it has been alleged that she has utilized public funds to finance opulent vacations, such as stays at the Four Seasons Inn. Henyard claims that the travels to Atlanta and New York City are for the people. But how many people in Dalton are actually benefiting from their mayor taking a vacation to a first-class hotel while the village's debt is growing?
Who would make a one-day purchase of over $40,000 to Amazon? And the main thing is, what is it?
What makes the background of Dolan's financial circumstances only serves to highlight how absurd this expenditure is. In addition to depleting its reserves, the village has been losing money. Local vendors have not received payments for months, creating a backlog of more than $6 million in unpaid checks. To make matters worse, some staff are. Henyard's lavish spending on what should be public funds feels like such a smack in the face to the community. And let's not forget about the police overtime scam. They are apparently concerned about whether they will even receive their salaries in the upcoming weeks. According to SC Lightfoot's study, 2 police officers received higher salaries and more overtime than their yearly pay. Another cop with a base salary of $735.15 received $10,277 in overtime, while another officer with a base salary of $87,395 pocketed an additional $11,800 in overtime. Hence, employment of the police as her personal security detail is obviously not just expensive for the. Critics have noted that although Henyard has a substantial security detail, Dalton itself suffers from a lack of police presence, particularly at a time when crime is on the rise. This is also having a negative financial impact on the village by reducing the number of officers available to safeguard inhabitants.
The township residents are paying for her fund.
At the same time, though how many contacts were formed with those first-class trips, Henyard continues to defend her actions by saying that these expenses are essential for fostering relationships and drawing in investment for the town. The amount of money that has truly been invested in those opulent hotel stays is doubtful, and given that basic services are being cut and infrastructure is deteriorating, just take a look at the recent water main breaks, and that the Henyard is now attempting to blame it on budget cuts. It is understandable why so many people believe that these trips are more about Henyard's personal comfort than the economic development of Dalton. As a result, locals are calling for her to step in. Down, and it's not just whispers behind closed doors. People are openly calling her the worst mayor in America, and it's difficult to dispute that when you consider the facts. One fan comment from a recent YouTube video summed it up perfectly. Arrest this clown already harsh. However, when you consider the accusations against her, it's easy to observe the reasons for people's anger. A further spectator noted that she is by far the residents' worst opponent. Given that Henyard's re-election bid is imminent, it appears that the residents of Dalton are sick and weary of the drama, poor leadership, and constant justifications.
Guys, it's the Super Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the people's mayor and people's supervisor. But
The problem is that Henyard isn't losing ground. In fact, she's strengthening her position as the self-described super mayor. She has already declared her intention to run for re-election, and she's promoting the idea that all of these disputes are only diversions from the actual work she does for the public when she announced her candidacy for a second term on Facebook. It is a bold statement to say that Henyard knows the truth and that I am committed to fighting for my village for the next 4 years. Not to mention the federal subpoenas in Dolton and Thorn Township, where Henyard also serves as supervisor, which were hit earlier this year as part of an ongoing investigation, especially in light of the mountain of allegations and investigations against her. Inquiry regarding her expenditures. Her charity organization and political committee are both being investigated, so the FBI is investigating where all that taxpayer money went while Henyard is busy portraying herself as the target of a smear campaign.
32 has investigated Henyard's use of a police security detail, taking officers off the street and costing thousands of dollars.
As if this weren't enough, Henyard is also using her position to silence her political rivals. In a recent Facebook Live tirade, she said she would be pursuing the arrest of those responsible for what she described as a power and money grab. Didn't say who she was referring to or what the alleged misdeeds were, but the message, "You'll face the consequences," was evident throughout Henyard. Although it's a classic technique from someone who believes they are untouchable, how long can she truly continue in this manner? Ultimately, the people of Dolton are the ones who are suffering the most. The town has more than $5 million in debt, vital services are being curtailed, and there is a genuine feeling that things are getting out of command. It appears that Henyard is more concerned about holding on to power, instead of truly attending to the concerns of her voters. And since her re-election campaign has officially begun, it is uncertain how this will all turn out.
South suburban politician named Tiffany Henyard, but we only knew half the story.
So what are your thoughts? Will Henyard be able to maintain her job in spite of the growing scandals, or will the residents of Dolton ultimately decide that enough is enough? Will the federal investigation have any actual repercussions for Henyard? Will she continue to avoid responsibility? Tell us what you think in the comments section below, and keep in mind that while Henyard portrays herself as the super mayor, the people living in the village actually have the last say in how their village is run.